We cannot be mere consumers of good governance. We must be participants. We must be co-creators. Good evening and welcome. This is Face the Nation. Our topic of discussion today is the Anti-Terrorism Bill, which is scheduled to be tabled in Parliament on the 25th of April. To discuss all this and more, we've invited four important guests to our studios this evening as well. Joining us this evening on the show are Attorney at Law Uddega Mampila, Member of Parliament, also the leader of the Pivithiru Helurume. Also joining us tonight on Face the Nation is Attorney at Law Rauf Hakeem, Member of Parliament and leader of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress. Joining us tonight on Face the Nation is Sendil Thundaman, leader of the CWC, as well as Attorney at Law J. Vijay Bandar, representing the National People's Power, and also Iran Vikramratne, Member of Parliament, representing the Samagga Jana Balawegaya. To pose questions from our panelists today, we have on to my immediate right Niresh Eliathambi, senior journalist, and on to my immediate left is Nadim Majid. You can direct your questions on the following number, 076 656 5353. The number once again, 076 656 5353. And we would be delighted to take your questions to the panelists as the show goes along. So let's start off tonight's show on our topic, the Anti-Terrorism Bill. Let's start off with Attorney at Law, Mr. Uddega Mampila, Member of Parliament, as well as the leader of the Pivithiru Helurume. Your time starts now.
Thank you. Let me first tell our stand in a nutshell. Do we need a replacement of the PTA? Of course, yes. Should we allow the government to suppress the opposition as well as the freedom of expression, including media, getting the cover of the ATA? Answer is no. Then, should we allow the government to terrorize the nation in the name of elimination of terrorism? Answer is big no. If I tell this in one sentence, this is a classic, ATA is a classic example for doing the right thing wrongly. This is something we have been demanding for a long time. From human rights perspective, we want to improve the human right aspect of the PTA. From the national security perspective, again, we want to improve because our PTA was introduced in 1979. The terrorism has evolved rapidly since then. Internationalization of the terrorism, use of new technology, then new media cultures. So we have to improve our laws to be in par with the modern world. Our neighbors as well as world powers have done it by now. Pakistan enacted their anti-terrorism law in 1997, UK in 2000, USA in 2001, then India 2002, Bangladesh 2009, Malaysia 2015, and the latest edition is from France. 2021, they introduced their latest anti-terrorism laws. So we should also modernize our anti-terrorism laws. So this is something we badly need. And frankly, there is a remarkable achievements in this piece of law as well compared to the PTA. There are good aspects. Now, we used to criticize the provision in the PTA where their own confession can be used against the person. Then the detention of only 18 months without produced before a court of law. There are a lot of improvements. But meanwhile, government's ulterior motive of suppressing the opposition, anti-government activists, media is also can be seen everywhere in this draft of the bill. By now, a lot of legal experts have explained what are the clauses which have been or which are going to use to suppress the opposition, trade unions and media. So I would like to touch several areas which have not been discussed enough. Look at clause 80(2)(1). It says, let me read this, notwithstanding any other written law where the president has reasonable grounds to believe I repeat the word, believe that any organization is engaged in any act amount to an offence under this act or is acting in an unlawful manner prejudicial to the national security of Sri Lanka, blah, 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 can be issue a proscribed order to proscribe that organization. Imagine a situation, president declares a presidential election. Soon thereafter, he believes the main opposition party is a threat to the national security. And he can, he doesn't need a report from fact-finding report, no recommendation, no investigation. If he just believes, arbitrary thinking can compel him to proscribe the main opposition party immediately after declaration of the presidential election, then, of course, appellate body is going to be the president himself. Appeal could be, according to section 82(6), the aggrieved party should appeal to the president himself. Then, of course, thereafter, they have the opportunity to go before the Court of Appeal. By the time Court of Appeal delivers the judgment, election would have been over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Udayagamampila, attorney at law, a member of parliament, as well as the leader of the Pivithura Helorumaya. So you mean to say that if the president wants to prescribe the SLPP, he could do so as well?
Any party.
Any party.
Any party a threat to him at the presidential.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gamampila. I now move my attention to attorney at law, Mr. Rauf Faqih, member of parliament, the leader of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress, for his thoughts on our subject tonight, the anti-terrorism bill.
Thank you, Shamir, for inviting me to be in your program tonight. Let me say at the very outset that, as Udaya correctly said, most of us are alarmed at the, when you look at the contents of the new anti-terrorism bill. If you go back to the history, this bill has been necessitated because government had given an assurance to important, well-meaning friends in the international community, as well as the Human Rights Council, way back in 2016, and had followed it up in 2018 or so, and gave an assurance that they will have a moratorium on the PTA until they enact a new law to replace the PTA. So what we see, the replacement is a worse devil than what we have had already, and we are all alarmed about this. So, historically, though 40 years have elapsed, more than 40 years have elapsed since it was introduced as a temporary bill only for 6 months. Then Minister K.W. Devanayagam was used to present the bill. I mean, they very cleverly used a Tamil minister, since the purpose was to eradicate terrorism from the north. That was the pretext on which it was brought. But even at that time, I mean, they realized that the contents of the bill will come in for serious criticism before the Supreme Court. Mind you, we had made fundamental rights justiciable before courts only in 1978. Right? So this bill anyway passed muster, and since the government had a steamroller majority, they pushed through the bill, but it has survived 43 years and more. And then looking at this, we are going to continue with the same status quo forever and ever. We just we had to be mindful of the fact that some of the very draconian and adverse features of this bill, in my opinion, is quite unparalleled. Now, if you look at now, they are mentioned about other countries which have enacted similar legislation. Now, if you look at the period of detention without judicial supervision, now, for instance, United States, they have Patriot Act. Right? There, you can have a person under administrative custody without judicial supervision only for 6 days. Right? Thereafter, you have to produce before a magistrate and then produce enough evidence so that magistrate will be satisfied that he has to be detained further. This is in United States. In France, it's again 7 days. Right? In UK, it's 28 days. There, you can extend to another 14 days with the magistrate allowing you to continue the detention under administrative custody. In Turkey, it's only 48 hours. Right? Turkey is a country which faces terrorist attacks very often. Right? So they are very desirous of entering the EU, and they are very, very conscious of the EU's restrictions. And now we have given this assurance to the European Union when we took the GSP Plus concessions. And I am told today, I reliably understand that EU, US, UK all have asked the government to review this bill, and government may not present it as has been told by the minister, because I was privy to a discussion today at a function where 2 prominent government members were present. They themselves were criticizing it. Particularly one of them was saying this definition is too broad, we just can't have this type of definition. And then there was another minister who also took umbrage and of a variety of issues. So, looks like they may have second thoughts, but they have to.
So you're saying the government may take a U-turn?
No, I don't think they are going to take a U-turn. I mean, you can never trust them. But I feel is that they would perhaps delay the presentation to Parliament and initiate a discussion with political parties and also important stakeholders, perhaps the Bar Association of Sri Lanka and also the Human Rights Council. They should have a say. They are stakeholders.
Right. So we'll come back to you, Mr. Hakim, momentarily after the first round. I now want to focus my attention on Sendil Thondaman, leader of the CWC. Sendil, your task tonight is going to be quite heavy because your party is now supporting the government as well. So keeping that in mind, I would like you to take an approach tonight on Face the Nation on the anti-terrorism bill.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Shamir, for inviting the Ceylon Workers' Congress for this discussion. And I'd like to quote that the Ceylon Workers' Congress, though we have travelled with several governments for the past decades, we have always raised our concern. In fact, we have filed a couple of objections even in the courts on judiciary on even PTA on certain issues where innocent people were arrested. So it doesn't mean that just because we are traveling with the government we have to agree on everything whatever the government says. So now to go to the bill. You know, this terrorism bill is there in most of the countries in a different way of format. In some countries there is no any terrorist activities, but they still have the bill. In certain countries, yes, they have terrorist activities, they have a different kinds of bill. Now it all depends on the approaches. Now like Honorable Gamampilla and Honorable Rauf Hakim, they were talking, but they were very concerned that the innocent people shouldn't get affected by this. I could understand from what they say. So Ceylon Workers Congress is also on the same keynote that the innocent people should not get affected by this bill. But yes, a strong bill should be there to safeguard the rest of the people of this country. Sri Lanka has gone through decades of terrorism activities where we have lost lakhs of people in civil war as well as in innocent worshipping places and things like that. So this country is more to pro-terrorist activities in the past history of this country. So based on that, you know, you'll have to have a strong bill, because I feel that this ideology of terrorism, you know, they say it's revolutionary when the government says it's terrorism. That revolutionary idea in Sri Lanka is easily marketable. So that's why I feel that there has been enormous number of blasts in Sri Lanka compared to the neighboring countries to Sri Lanka. So in places like that, to control that, the government had to take sometimes strong decisions, and we should. And I think a terrorist being punished is really an acceptable thing, because he is not going to change his mindset. His mindset is a minimum group of people who have revolutionary ideas against the majority of the community living. Majority of the community says, I'm not talking about one community, I'm saying majority of the democratic community who accept democracy, it's against them. So that one. Same way I feel another thing that is, through this PTA, yes, they would have stopped a lot of major disasters by terrorists. Same way innocent people on personal note would have been targeted, like how he was saying that one person being given a power, or the police forces or whatever been given power, where the accountability is not there. That's what I see in Sri Lanka. If an innocent man is being charged under PTA or something, then he is found innocent and left out. The investigating officer or the align officials who have conducted the thing and all, they are not found anywhere accountable. So that man takes a call whenever he wants. He doesn't like you. That's why people are much concerned. Before I came for this, I had a chat with a couple of people. They say that the officials take their own call. So when they take their own call, if they are proven, if the person is proven not guilty, the concerned official must be given an equal punishment for misleading the courts, for not doing a proper investigation. So if that accountability is brought in, I hope all the officials will be much careful, because normal arresting a man, putting in the police courts, coming out is something different. But arresting in PTA night 12 o'clock, they walk into house, just pick up somebody and go. So when you have the powers to do that, you must be 100% sure of what you're doing. If you're going to do that accident, it's something different, and same way with the personal grudge, it's something different. So if these two things are involved, even from suspension or depromotion or even their retirement benefits being stopped, or they have even stopped from work, or even they must be liable for hard punishments, where in future they make sure that they don't take wrong things into orders into action.
So Senil, very quickly before I move to Iran, are you trying to tell us tonight that the CWC would oppose the anti-terrorism bill in totality if it's tabled in this shape and form on the 25th of April?
No, we are still on the go of just going through that. So we have summoned our party on the this Saturday. We have a party discussion with our legal colleagues and all that. And already we have a cabinet minister, Honorable Jeevan Tondaman, in the cabinet, and as well as Honorable Rameshwaran in the parliament. So they have raised all our concerns, whatever is there. So on the Saturday, we might take a call about what is our stand. If our concerns are accepted by the government and it's being looked into, yes, definitely we might take a call.
Thank you very much, Sendil. May this discussion also help you to take that decision on Saturday for the best agenda of your political party as well. I now move my attention to Iran Wickramaratne, Member of Parliament of the Samaga Jana Balawegaya, to talk about the party's position on the anti-terrorism bill.
I'll start by saying we oppose it. Now we need to be careful that dehumanizing treatment under the guise of counter-terror must never be allowed. We have chosen a democratic way of life in this country, and that includes people's individual rights, human rights, freedom of speech and expression, freedom to assemble, freedom to dissent. These are fundamental. These are values that we have accepted in this society. And that is why we have a democratic system of government, and we need to make sure that it is always that it should be protected. Sometimes the debate in this country moves to what is the biggest problem in this country, and people quickly run off trying to say it's an economic problem. I completely disagree with that. We have an economic problem, but it's a fixable problem. 22 million people in a world of 7 billion people. Rise in Asia. Asian economies are rising. India is rising. By having the right policies on the economy, this can be turned around. But the more fundamental issue that we face is not to do with the economy. It's to do with equal treatment of every person in this country. Anti-terrorism laws have also been used to target minorities in this country. Now the ATA, goes a little further, because if you dissent or if you protest, then you could be targeted as well. So there is a problem, as has already been mentioned by some of the members of parliament here and Mr. Thondaman, there is a problem of definition of what is actually terrorism. I just saw today saying that if the teachers have something about not correcting A-level papers or something, and if they don't, it might be declared an essential service. Under this law, if it is declared an essential service, they can be falling into the category of terrorism because this is so vague. The definition is so vague. And when I read that today, I was thinking like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Because this becomes not a law against terrorists. This becomes a law against anybody who protests or dissents or doesn't agree with the government of the day or the government in power. So this is not possible. This is unacceptable. So the definition really has to be narrowed down to figure out we are all against terrorism. We are all against extremism. You have extremism all over the world, in the US, in Europe, in Sri Lanka, everywhere you have extremism. And there are always people who are extremists. But on the guise of counter-attacking those extremists and those few people to restrict the freedoms of everybody else is totally unacceptable. And this comes in various different ways. You know, one way is even if this will even affect the media, because I saw in section 10 where it specifically said of the proposed bill makes any person publishing or causing to publish any words or statements which is likely to be understood. So that's the definitional issue. As direct or indirect inducement to commit an offense, then that also becomes basically a terrorist offense. So, you know, in a sense, it puts a permanent, a permanent stranglehold even on the media, whether it's print media, TV, social media, or whatever. So that is why there's a huge problem in the definition, and certainly this needs to be looked at. And the other thing I would say is also this gives additional powers. And one of the things, because I would go to that because it was referred to, the powers to the president in proscribing an organization with MP Gaman Pilla mentioned, right? Now that's just completely out. That's completely out. If you're proscribing an organization, there has to be a process in proscribing it, because that organization has been around, right? Evidence has to be called for, it has to be looked at. The other thing, it gives the president powers for regulation, right? And the president can pass new regulation. Now, it was tried in the past and it was taken to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court basically withheld that. Now, we would be careful in doing that also, because if the president as an individual passes regulation, for example, a rehabilitation center, you can say somebody is classified in the definition as terrorist, he needs to be rehabilitated, therefore on the presidential regulation, he's sent there. So there are a whole lot of problems. In this round, I can't deal with it, but certainly I would leave it there saying this is unacceptable.
Absolutely. Iran, before I move to Attorney at Law J. Vijay Bandara, a very quick question to you, because Uday Gammam also mentioned about the fact that this was the footprint for this bill was played in 2015 during the Yahapalne government time. And we saw such a bill being brought again in 2018 as well. Now, you were part of the 2015 Yahapalne government, and at that time, the leader of your party was Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is now the president. You all still oppose this bill in totality because of policy issues, or because
we oppose this bill. We oppose the PTA had its problems, and as was mentioned, it's not up to international acceptance standards and so forth, and it had to be revised. So a process started in our government, lots of consultation, unlike this one, which is suddenly brought and stakeholders haven't been consulted, lots of consultation, and a bill was gazetted in 2018, if I remember, but it was never brought into parliament. Certainly there are features of that here, but this has gone far beyond it, and I have no explanation, because then the Prime Minister was Ranil Wickremesinghe, and I have no explanation. He has become president of the country, and how he could even consent that this bill...
Then you don't have an explanation now. Thank you very much, Iran Wickremesinghe, the Member of Parliament representing the Samik Janawala Vega. And now move my attention to Attorney at Law J. Vijay Bandara, who is also representing the NPP tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Samir, and other friends. Answer first, in this bill, in totality, we oppose this bill. At the same time, any sovereign state has a legitimate power to deal with terrorism. For that, state and the organs of government need to be strengthened. With that, we are in agreement, but we don't see any such better provisions in the draft form of the AT bill. What was on the card then from 2015, 2018 and the international community, what they say is enhance and promote the fundamental right, to that extent curtail the authority or arbitrariness of the Prevention of Terrorism Act in line with protecting human rights. That was what was required by the international community. We cannot give a different interpretation. This contents of this bill is totally vice versa. This has entirely curtailed the human rights. Article 12.1 and 14 is entirely curtailed. If you remember, Broadcasting Authority Bill, which was produced in Parliament and which was challenged before the Supreme Court very clearly adjudicated and held fundamental right can be restricted by normal act of Parliament only to the extent that is provided by the Constitution, Chapter 3, Article 15.7. Beyond that, if Parliament, being the legislature, making any attempt to curtail or restrict or reduce fundamental right enshrined in the Constitution is not permitted. That is what the stance of the Supreme Apex Court of this country. And also, for example, if you assume that, I totally disagree with the notion that we are facing a terrorism right now. That this is not a timely bill in that sense. We had a latest terrorist experience is Easter Sunday attack. That case was heard by full bench of the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court found incumbent president was temporarily discharged because of the immunity provision of the Constitution that can be raised again the moment he relinquished from his office. So it is still pending. Then Supreme Court shown the accountability on the part of the state when dealing with terrorism. If Security Council is pale or by their inaction, negligence, allow terrorism to uprise, then the President, Ministers of Cabinet and the police are accountable. If there was any genuine concern to deal with terrorism, those Supreme Court expressions would have been incorporated to this act. Not an iota of mention or reference to that in this bill. Not an iota, nothing. And then again, I read this entire act in three parts. One is this has created new number of offences. Second part is it has introduced new procedure beyond the criminal procedure, investigation process and the constitutional guarantees of freedom of arrest and detention. Thirdly, it has created certain ad hoc appeal tribunal. We all know in Sri Lanka, once a criminal proceeding is set in motion by filing a B report, very recently, 2 months ago, Court of Appeal gave a very celebrative judgment saying that every magistrate has a duty to go through entirety of B report and ascertain whether what police say is foundable or unfoundable, and if magistrate thinks that there is nothing against the suspect produced before the court, he has to be discharged then and there. That was the position of Apex Court. What has this bill done? Remove that. If DIG's signature and piece of paper is on the table of learned magistrate, his hands are tied. His hands are tied. Number of development, considering the international development in the other countries, our Apex Court has shown if it is drafted by the legal draftsman department, certainly this should have been considered. But another question I invite journalists, you all, ask who are the authors of this draft.
Right. Thank you very much.
We have right to know about that.
Thank you very much, Attorney at Law J. Vijay Bandara, representing the National People's Power. You can direct your questions to 076-656-5353, and we would be delighted to take those questions to our panelists. On to my immediate right, as I said before, is Niresh Rayathambi, senior journalist. On to my immediate left is Nadim Majid. Before we go into a short commercial break and open the floor for questions, I just want to leave a thought that was sent to me by a viewer, and we will talk about all this as the show goes along. So after listening to the remarks of all 5 elite panelists that who were invited today on the show, the viewer is of the opinion that all these are nice words, but what will happen? But what will our politicians in opposition do about this? Sajid Premadasa, what will you do? Will you just deliver a speech in Parliament and nothing else as usual? How come you're so quiet on this subject? Andrew Kumar Dissanayake, how about you? Where are your protests and your noise now? Are you even in Sri Lanka? To the people, all of this sounds just like talk at this moment of time. Ultimately, this bill will likely be passed as all of you are friends, as Ranjan Ramanayake says, and the people are made to look like fools at the end of the day. But this time, the people won't be fooled by any of the politicians in Parliament. So with that thought, we go in for a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll discuss on this message and on the topic that we're talking tonight, the anti-terrorism bill. Stay connected, stay with Face the Nation. We will be right back. Welcome back. This is Face the Nation. So before we went for a break, I took up a question that was sent to me by a viewer. So I'm going to directly point the finger at Iran Wickramaratne, who is representing the SJB. The question to Sajid Premadasa was, what will you do now? Will you just deliver a speech in Parliament and nothing else as usual? How come you're so quiet now on this subject? I know you can't talk on behalf of Sajid Premadasa, but as a party, you can definitely express your views tonight.
Yes, of course. The question is a good one because it raises the issue, right, of what can an opposition actually do. An opposition can do is to basically examine legislation when it's brought and basically agree, disagree, inform the public, build public opinion, and go into Parliament and vote against it if they feel that that is something they should be voting against. That's what an opposition can do. So if the person asking the question is insinuating more than that, then you know what the real issue is? The real issue is he is questioning the legitimacy of Parliament, not of the opposition leader. This Parliament may be legal, but this Parliament is not legitimate. That's what he's actually saying. This president may be legal, but this president is not legitimate. That's what actually his question is saying. What do you do when you're in opposition? You are supposed to be examining legislation and you expect to be giving your opinion, raising public opinion, voting against it, building opinion against it. That's what you can do. That's what we are doing. So if somebody is actually questioning it, they are questioning the legitimacy of Parliament.
No, but Iran, at the end of the day, what requires now is the opposition to raise voices and ensure that they collectively work together. But right now it seems that there are divisions within the opposition as well.
No, I don't agree with you on that. In the opposition, right, it will be, there are opposition parties, different parties, and there are people who are now in the opposition who have broken away from the government and come as well. And some things they will all agree. There are some things they will all not agree because their philosophies are different, their programs are different, and the way they look at the issues are different. That doesn't mean that the opposition is divided. I can assure you, or if you are talking specifically on this bill, I am convinced most of the opposition will be opposed to this bill. But you can't expect them to come together, let's say, on an economic issue. For example, on an economic issue, there's more than one view. So I think trying to dismiss the opposition, therefore, as not being able to work together, I think is too simplistic.
So, Mr. Vijay Bandara, with regard to Andrew Kumar Disanayake's thoughts of this viewer, where is Andrew Kumar Dissanayake now with the protests and his noise? Is he even in Sri Lanka?
That is very. The question whether he is in Sri Lanka was a very silly question. He has to do his politics, not only dealing with this act. There are others, and also any political party leader has to work to gain power. And also for that, there you need to have strategies. You have to build up your international relationship and local relationship. So he can.
But he's not in the country.
At the moment, he went to Korea, so he will be back soon. And other than him, we have other lawyers association, intellectual association, all we are working, and we are going to have countrywide seminars on this, and we also certainly will challenge this bill in Supreme Court also. So we have only 3 members in the parliament. As far as parliament are concerned, we can assure that we are friend of none of the parties other than our party. We are friend of people, and we want to change the system. Therefore, if system to be changed, this kind of law always stand on the way of change. That's what they want.
Now we're talking about, Mr. Vijay Bandara, priorities of the government. Now they're talking about an anti-corruption bill that should be tabled in Parliament based on the IMF recommendations. We're talking about the governance structure to be very well formulated and to be formidable to face the future. So doesn't the NPP have their priorities all straight? Is this the time to canvass for votes outside the country when there are matters that need to be taken at Parliament, and also to gather the people around you all?
Why you single out this Korean tour?
No, I'm not. I didn't even know Mr. Andrew Kumar Dissanayake was outside the country.
With due respect to the person who asked the question, that is an isolated question, but we have a plan. We have a team of about 10,000, 15,000 people who are working in different areas, and we have never gained power so far. So we are working to gain power, and also definitely what people need is not that Tattumaru government system. We need a real change. So we are working and preparation of strategies, even a constitution to a certain level, to ensure that there is a clear social and system change. For that we are working. As far as this bill is concerned, we will do our level best. In the Parliament, definitely I can 100% assure that we will vote against this bill. And also we will come up with certain, of course, it's very difficult to come up with amendment to this bill. That I have to say, amendment to this bill, because what the country pays right now, all the bar association and all the religious leaders asked for consensus government. Now, 8 months back, that didn't happen because of the fact that the Sri Lanka Podujana Perapuna, who has a majority, and they choose single person in Parliament without any other member as a president. Maybe say black letter of the constitution is permit such, but that is the situation that we don't have legitimate Parliament. And therefore, until such time that we establish a good government system based on democratic values, that is after election, definitely.
Right. So I'm getting a lot of questions. Niresh and Nadim, with your permission, I'm just going to pose another question to Iran because we're on the same subject. I don't want to move to another subject and then talk about this. So, Iran, there's a follow-up question. So another viewer is asking, we see Sajid Premadasa giving voice cuts with trees in the background. We all know now Andrew Kumar Dissanayake is in Korea, and Sajid seems to be in a jungle. Is that the priority right now, the country in the country?
Yeah, I can't really answer questions as to where people are, but I can tell you this. Just before I came into your studio, we were having a meeting, right, just now, with all our MPs and organizers in the Western Province, chaired by Sajid Premadasa, and we were, I can even tell you the agenda, right? We were really discussing the May Day issue, because there has been an attempt to not allow us to get the venue that we desire for the May Day, and we were just discussing that. So Mr. Sajid Premadasa is fully involved as leader of the party in these discussions, and tomorrow we are having another discussion, And that discussion is in preparation because tomorrow is in Parliament, it's a party leaders meeting to decide the agenda for the following week in Parliament. And then after that we are having a discussion with our party group of members of Parliament, again on what measures we should be taking and what our stand is, particularly on things like the International Monetary Fund agreement. So this is an ongoing process where we are working full time. We are the largest political party in the opposition. We have a countrywide organization. We have organizers everywhere, in every electorate, at the level of the polling station. We have branches, we have main branches, and then we have women's branches, we have youth branches. It's a huge organization.
Was the Anti-Terrorism Act on the agenda of this meeting that you all had, or was it
today? No,
the meeting?
no. Today's meeting.
I think that's why people ask this question about priorities. Is the main day celebration a priority over that?
No. Today's meeting, we have so many discussions and so many meetings. In today's meeting, that was not on the agenda because there are so many issues that are there. I mean, the issue on the International Monetary Fund program, which is due to come to Parliament in terms of a resolution which was announced yesterday by the President's office that they are bringing it in. So we had to discuss that. So there are so many different issues in the country. Certainly anti-terrorism we are opposed to. There is the Express Pearl shipping issue which has not been discussed in this country. Sri Lanka is about to lose $6 to $10 billion. The International Monetary Fund only is giving you $2.9 billion. So when it comes to priorities, I think we are very clear what the priorities are. Don't have any doubts about that.
Can I continue?
Yes, Dalit.
Mr. Gamampila, you had Mr. Vikramatne was also talking about, these priorities. Last week on the program we had Dr. Godaheva, and he was talking about how you have to look at the motivations behind this Anti-Terrorism Act coming in now. And what his position, I'm not sure if you agree, because are you all in the same party still, or no?
Well, we
same grouping.
Coalition to contest the election, but there is no election to contest.
Okay, so you all are in that group of 13.
36. Yeah.
36.
Yeah, there are 36 parliamentarians.
Okay, because
That's
he said
the SLFP.
Well, majority of the SLFP members are contesting under FPA, not SLP.
Okay.
So this is a different matter.
Yeah,
so
but on that issue, what he said was the current agreement with the IMF and the conditions that it's imposing, the reforms that will be undertaken will cause an outpouring of dissent amongst the public. And this bill is intended to stifle that dissent. Do you agree with this position?
Before responding to you, I have to mention something with regard to the leader of opposition. I have no reason to defend him, but knowing something, possessing some information, if I'm not going to mention at the correct time, it's unfair by the leader of opposition. Actually, he has called a meeting of leaders of all opposition parties on Monday to discuss about the anti-terrorism bill and to reach consensus on this issue. As my good friend Iran mentioned, we have differences about a lot of issues. But in this particular case, I think all are in agreement to oppose this kind of a dangerous piece of law. So, leader of opposition has called this meeting. He personally called us, so it's unfair to say that he is not interested in this issue. So I thought, though I don't... No,
Mr. Gamampila, the issue is not that the leader of the opposition is not interested, but what is the priority right now? Because such a piece of legislation is very draconian at this moment of time. And action needs to be taken collectively by the opposition parties together on this matter. If not, if this is also passed in Parliament with a simple majority, it will be very easy for the government to even garner these 150 votes. We saw that, I will tell you as an example, when the 20th Amendment to the Constitution came into play. You were against that particular piece of legislation, but what did you do? You went ahead and supported it. And then after everything went wrong, you are crying over spilt milk saying, this is what Gotabaya Rajapaksa promised. So that is the...
Shamir, Mr. Gamampila actually, in his opening remarks, described the ATA as a piece of legislation which is being brought to terrorize the nation. Strong words, but probably that is the view of your party and the view of a lot of others. So this, would you agree, this is an existential sort of challenge to the country at the moment?
That's why I use, those are not accidental use of words. I deliberately use those words to pass this message that this has been brought to terrorize the nation. So your question, Nadeem, is in par with that statement, because as you, I didn't listen to Nalaka, but now I think I do agree with him, because now our working class people or lower middle class people are burdened with the skyrocketing cost of living. Middle class, of course, are burdened with a huge taxations. Because of that, there's a lot of anti-government sentiments all across the society. And certain policy, there's a paradigm shift in government policies after signing this agreement. There are some good aspects as well, but there are natural resistance. And President, look at the way he speaks. Even today, I just watched.
One question.
Let me finish this.
Anti-government and government is uncertain. What is the government and who are anti-government?
This is a very philosophical question.
No, you take the parliament, composition of the parliament. That's a question I always raise. What is the ruling party?
Actually, so since he is in doubt, let me explain this, because people should know. When you say the government, true, parliament doesn't reflect the original composition. A group of government members have crossed over to the opposition. Similarly, including the president, who used to be in the opposition, have now leading the government, and several members of the opposition have joined the government. So people have changed the parties, they changed the sides, but those are very obvious things. So people are fully aware of the fact that who are in the government, who are in the opposition. So the crossover.
No, but that's not clear now. That's the problem, Mr. Gamampil. Now let's take you for an example.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the 20th Amendment to the Constitution.
Right. Okay.
Individuals, we saw Ratnasiri Wickramalayaka's son opposing the bill, Vidura Wickramalayaka. What happened? He supported the 20th Amendment to the Constitution. You went on record saying that we will not vote for the 20th Amendment to the Constitution.
You raised this question.
But you went and voted. So the people have an issue with political parties who are expressing their views at the end of the day. You all come to the media, you all express one view, and suddenly you all change this view and support the government. That's the doubt the people are having.
Okay, that's not the issue that raised by him.
No,
it's a different issue.
Exactly the issue I raised.
Right? Let me explain both.
Yeah.
Firstly, don't think that you are in a wrong conception. Your conception itself is wrong.
Why is that?
Let me explain. Right? There is not a hard and fast rule that there's a government members who should support the government always. If you are in the opposition, you have to oppose any single piece of law brought before Parliament. That's not so. If you look at in all over the world, and even historically, even in Sri Lanka, even being in the opposition, we have supported certain bills brought by the government. Likewise, opposition members have supported certain bills, as opposed the government members have opposed the bills. So this is a hell. If somebody thinks that if you are a member of the government, you should blindly, like a signal post, you should just raise your hands in support of the bill.
That's what you did. That's exactly what you did.
No. Now you are changing the question.
No,
now,
I'm not saying. No, Mr. Gamampil, I'm saying.
I think Mr. Gamampil, what Samir is saying is what is being questioned is the convictions, right? Because, for example, in 2015,
okay, then
you voted for the 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment and 20th Amendment diametrically opposed to each other, but you voted yes for both.
We'll get back to Mr. Vijaybandar's question.
For 19th Amendment, you are wrong, my dear. Just tell me when the 19th Amendment was brought?
2015.
Then I am the first parliamentarian to oppose that in the Supreme Court. If you look at the Supreme Court determination.
No, but you voted for the amendment.
Against.
You voted against it.
Of course. So, you should,
but
you are a responsible, this is a live program, people are watching. So when you are making an allegation, please be confident about what you say and
first
learn the fact before making an allegation. Because you should know the truth before making...
There was one vote against, the rest were absent.
The 19th Amendment was brought before, not in 2015. It was, early 2015. I was not in the parliament, but I challenged that before. No. I was not in parliament. I was not a member of that parliament. I became a member of parliament in 2015 after the parliamentary election. But I challenged this before the Supreme Court as the first petition. If you look at the determination, you can find that. Now let me answer your question. 20th Amendment.
Actually, can I give you a chronological order as to how it all happened?
I can remember very well, so let me answer your question.
Very good. So let's talk about it, because when you went and voted against, or when you voted for the 20th Amendment of the Constitution, you came out from the Parliament and said, Gotabaya Rajapaksa has promised you all a timeline. Now, after that didn't happen, then you all started talking bad about Gotabaya Rajapaksa, saying that he's not the leader who could lead the country. So now the people are having a question as to the integrity of individuals of your caliber, Mr. Gammampilla. So you
are wrong, my dear.
You have a reasoning to make to them.
So first, let me explain. I repeatedly ask the opportunity to explain.
Of course.
Let the people judge about me, right? You may raise the question. Let me to respond to that. Let the people to judge. You always say, we report, you decide. So let the people to decide about it. Let me explain what happened. When 20th Amendment was brought, it was brought to the very first cabinet meeting of the present government. That was, I think, 17th August 2020. It was brought at the last minute. Then I am the one who said, this is a constitutional amendment. We want to study this. Please postpone this to the next meeting. Then we can express our opinion after studying the bill. Then I can very well remember Minister Vasudeva Nanayakkara supported me. Then Rohita Begunawardena, S.M. Chandrasena and Pavitra Vanyarachi said, no, the government printer is waiting for this to be printed tonight itself. So we want to somehow get this passed at this cabinet meeting. So we, with our vehement opposition, former cabinet, he's a former cabinet colleague, not like in parliament, there is no vote at cabinet, you can express your opposition, but it was passed. Then, we immediately summoned a meeting we invited all coalition partners of the government to discuss about this issue. So, 16 parliamentarians got together and we discussed in length, and we decide to raise 10 points. Actually, it's in my iPad. Let me find that out. We raised 10 issues because I was not prepared to this question. I was only
but Mr. Gammampilla, in a nutshell, in the interest of time,
so what I'm saying, we discussed.
You said that you're opposing
please let me explain I know what I said. I don't want your assist. I know you are attorney at law, but I have not retained you for that purpose.
But
so let me explain.
You go against collective responsibility of cabinet also. Always you violate constitutional convention. Now you say
no. Let me explain. So he asked a question from me. Let me explain, Mr. Vijay Bandara. If they need your views, they will.
No, very quickly.
In the interest of time, in a nutshell, Mr. Gammampilla.
What happened was, then we kept negotiating with the government. We posed in the government that we are not going to support the 20th Amendment unless these 10 amendments are incorporated into the bill. In the end, they incorporated 9 out of 10, and 10th one was the dual citizenship. President said this will be incorporated. He is going to introduce a new constitution within a year. This will definitely be a part of it. Then we are said we need a written assurance, because by that time, this issue came up within the first month of the government. Popularity of the government was at its peak, and we were tremendously under pressure from all the quarters of the groups who supported to form the government not to create a division within the government at this early stage, somehow sort this out.
So you received the written assurance.
So then we said this must be in the part of the Hansard. Then Minister Ali Sabri undertook he said, I am ready to say whatever the form you want to tell this in Parliament and be a part of Hansard. Then I myself wrote the piece in his replying speech of 20th Amendment.
Whatever it is, you went and voted in favor of the bill.
So,
In
you know,
nutshell.
This is the reason.
Yeah.
But Mr. Government,
the
this is
reason
the fear.
there were 10 issues. Out of
9
those
of the
10
10?
issues, 9 were given. Even
So now-
trade union negotiations, you can't come to a settlement winning
Right.
10 out of 10.
Right.
But
So-
with the
so we'll-
Anti-Terrorism
we'll-
Act,
yeah.
to bring it to the Anti-Terrorism Act, this is where the fear comes from, right? Now, this kind of horse trading will happen, and then eventually it will pass. Now, you're saying that you said the opposition leader has called a meeting on this anti-terrorism bill. The fear, I think, on the part of the public, on the part of activists, on the part of journalists, and the wider community
I
is
found,
that
10
when
points.
the MPs, that when this comes to Parliament on the 25th of April, some compromise will be made. Mr. Wickremesinghe will have a list of things that he definitely wants to push through that he will not compromise on, just like Mr. Rajapaksa had the one point where he wouldn't compromise on, as you said. And when that happens, will members of the opposition then cross over and vote for this anti-terrorism bill? And while we were here, you know, weeks we've been talking about it, everyone says they were opposed to it, and suddenly this thing is law. Will that happen? Is there a possibility of that happening?
Another political consideration. We deliberated at the time of the 20th day voting was that there was a group of members of the opposition who were trying to support the 20th Amendment from the opposition. In fact, there were 9 opposition members supported the 20th Amendment. Then we had an issue. If government was going to get the 2/3 majority without our support, thereafter we will lose the entire influence to the government after forming the government. That was one aspect was considered when we decided to support the 20th Amendment. Just we were failed to get only one aspect, that's dual citizenship issue.
But Mr. Gamal, on this bill also, will you be making such considerations?
Frankly, we can't give assurance for other, knowing our culture, knowing so many crossovers in the past. I can rest assured that I will not support the government at any cost to get this bill passed. But how can I give assurances? Because last time I was part of the government, I had a collective response. I was not only a member of the government, I was a cabinet minister. So reaching consensus was a burden on my shoulders. But here, I'm a member of the opposition.
Right.
So I don't have such a burden at this moment.
Right. So Mr. Hakim, now interestingly, let's take a look at the history of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress. Sri Lanka Muslim Congress has always supported the government in power, minus the last few years, if you take into consideration what has happened in the last few months, last few years with Yaragale, all that and more. There has always been a case where at least 2 or 3 members of the SLMC always supports the government while the leader remains neutral or with the opposition. Like in this case, we see people like Nazir Ahmed now holding a cabinet portfolio. What would be the position of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress as a whole on this subject?
No, as far as Mr. Nazir Ahmed is concerned, party has had a disciplinary inquiry and have expelled him, and he has gone to courts. Yeah. So now he is no more a member of the party.
Yeah, but we
have expelled him.
Yeah, but so, we know, Mr. Hakim, there has never been a case where such decisions are taking such a long time now.
We are confident.
We see Diana Gamage's matter has also been.
But that also, I think, JB is confident. So the question is, it's left to the courts. Anyway, let's not talk about what's pending in courts. And the other members also, we took action against them. And then they came and pleaded guilty and asked for pardon and all that. And we have, the thing is, in politics, there is certain amount of pragmatism is necessary when numbers are the deciding factor in Parliament. So when they came and sincerely apologized and tendered their apology in uncertain terms, we admitted them back into the party with strong reprimand that they should not repeat their mistakes. Be that as it may, as far as this bill is concerned, I don't think any right-thinking citizen would ever, because now I just when I was speaking privately to some members of the government, I mean a minister today, a very responsible minister, was telling me this issue of getting 63 DIGs to sign detention orders is preposterous. This is the word he used, right? If this is allowed, You see, when we go into the opposition, right, we will be at the receiving end. I mean, forgetting about their own destinies in politics is a different issue. But let us look at the people in government today. They have been terribly traumatized by burning of their houses and severe problems as far as all the misfortunes that has come onto the country is blamed on them. And then amidst this trauma, they are bringing this bill, right? And what does this bill do? This will finally,
traumatize the Sri Lankan people.
Do they forget? I mean, they shouldn't forget that the stigmatization of individuals through the PTA has continued for 40 years. Those who have been taken into custody and have been subsequently released or given bail or pending cases, when they get into society, the amount of stigma they suffer and the families of those individuals is forgotten. It's forgotten. I know how many people, there have been suicides, right? Because, they can't face the people. So there have been certain instances where the Supreme Court has finally held that it was arbitrary detention and have found fault, and they even fined certain police officers and all that. But what has this done? This PTA has promoted corruption in the police department, I am telling you, with responsibility. Corruption and the culture of impunity that has been practiced in this country through the availability of a special legislation such as this. I am sometimes ashamed about the conduct of the Attorney General's department. The efficiency of the police department and the Attorney General's department have been affected by a special legislation like this, because they don't follow evidence ordinance. There is no criminal procedure code, time-tested provisions are there. Penal code, which is more than a century old.
So, Mr. Hakim,
always have these offences included in the penal code, in the normal law. If you want, you declare an emergency and bring in emergency regulations to meet the emergency situation. Now, have there been ever an effective assessment of what the PTA has done to this country? I would say through the PTA, they have not managed to abolish terrorism, but it has been used as a shield to cover the corruption of the government, cover the ineffectiveness of the government in governing, and have helped them to take revenge from their political opponents.
So Sendil,
Nothing but that.
I saw a recent tweet that was made by your cabinet minister in Parliament, commending the efforts of Ranil Wickremesinghe to get the IMF tranche, first tranche approved for Sri Lanka, and he says that he's glad that he supported Ranil Wickremesinghe in this endeavor. Does he have the same sentiment when it comes to this bill in question? Does he believe that the anti-terrorism bill also bears the hallmark of Ranil Wickremesinghe administration to stifle not only the people but also the media?
Actually, I can't answer on his behalf. It's good because he's the one should give the explanation whether.
No, but as a party, because I'm very sure he's a cabinet minister representing your party.
As a party, on certain instances, yes, like the IMF thing, like how we have appreciated the president's call on taking it forward.
You can't do cherry picking, Sendil. You have to always be. It has to be a common ground when it comes to policy. It has to be a common ground. Now you can cherry pick saying IMF matter, we will take it because it's goodwill, so on and so forth. But when it comes to the anti-terrorism bill, no, we want to
it's like going to a restaurant and ordering food. No, I will pick up what I like only. I can't order the entire. I can't order the entire food in the restaurant. No, that's true, Sendil. That applies to individuals in the caliber of Iran, but now you're in government. Now you're in government. My party picks up.
You all have to take responsibility as well.
So my party picks up and votes for things which we think is really genuine and which things is good for the country. And whatever we feel it's not good for the country or not good for the thing, yes, but there might be policies, every policies will not be as sweet as which CWC expects. There will be a lot of policies, in 1948 there was a Citizenship Act which came, which threw all of us out of our citizenship, more than 1 million people. So that was not as sweet as though we were in the government, we voted against that, but we didn't have the numbers to defeat the bill. So the same way, yes, sometimes there will be instances where we will vote against the government, and there will be instances where we will have to abstain. There will be instances where we will have to support the government. So we can.
But what will you all do in this instance?
No, in this instance, I told you right. On Saturday, we have to take a call on Saturday with our party, because it's a party collective decisions. We have summoned all our party, the working committee, which everybody will give their opinion on the major of the opinion view. Like we have raised a lot of concerns to.
So hypothetically,
we have raised we have raised a lot of concern to His Excellency the President.
On this bill?
Yes, on this bill.
What was his response?
We are waiting for his response. We have raised it and he said he will go through and get back to us. So we are positive that, yes, this bill is not going to be submitted as such. There will be some revised things which are brought
Because Minister Ali Sabri went on record saying that there are instances or preambles on the bill that he is against as a President's Counsel. He speaks about section 31 of the bill, where Mr. Hakim spoke about a short while ago. A Deputy Inspector General of Police has the power to issue a DO if he is satisfied of the existence of reasonable grounds to believe that the suspect has committed or has concern in committing an offence under this act. In fact, before the show, Niresh, we spoke about how the IGP once said how badly the police force has been politicized in a situation
I think
that.
he said over 90% of the OICs of police stations are politically appointed.
So in a situation like that, if you give the DIG to issue a detention order, look at what's going to happen to the country.
In a small country like Sri Lanka, I think giving it to the DIG is going to be, it's not going to work well.
Isn't this alone enough for you to take a decision? Why wait until Saturday?
No. It's now when we have out of our revisions what we have raised. This is also one of a point which we have raised. So we have raised it that if the Defence Secretary it's brought under the Defence Secretary, we have individual person who takes a call with that committee. He has that Security Council, where these cases are put up to that, and through the Security Council they take up a call on this. And anyway, the end of the day, it's not going to be one man's decision. It's going to be a collective decision of the Security Council, what they have to go take forward on this, who are the people they have to. So basically, if accountability is brought in, I think even during the Easter bomb blast, the former president was charged in the court for not doing his duty or something. I'm not correct. I'm not 100% sure on that the court verdict what it was, but I know that he was also charged, found that he's not done his duty well or something like that, where he had to pay 100 million rupees or things like that. Like that, the accountability is the part now. If the court brings proper accountability, I think first of all, we are talking this bill which is going to be majorly used against terrorists.
But Mr. Tonman, see, you mentioned this is majorly going to be used against terrorists. And then in your opening remarks, you also mentioned revolutionary ideologies. I mean, wasn't in the foundation of the Ceylon Workers' Congress under Mr. Samimuthu Tondaman wasn't that a revolutionary ideology as well?
No,
at that point, if the government at the time, the UNP government at the time, was heavily opposed to what Mr. Tondaman was trying to accomplish for the people, for the disenfranchised people in the plantation sector, but that was able to be done. Like if Mr. Senanayake had this bill at his disposal, he could have locked up the entire CWC leadership and proscribed the party.
Yeah, revolutionary idea in the sense, not in a violence way. There are revolutionary ideologies which can take forward without violence. That's what our leader took forward, and we out of our issues.
But I think what people are trying to say now is that this bill will be used against, like you said, people who have revolutionary thinking, they can be even policed for their thoughts.
No, 1 minute.
Not just the violence.
See, 1 minute. The majority of this bill is going to be used against for terrorists. Only there is going to be a minimum amount which you are saying that is going to be used against innocent people. I also agree on that. That's because from 19.
But have you read this bill?
Yeah, 1 minute.
But where is that guarantee at all? It is up to the people in power.
1978, 79, from the PTA coming, there have been several governments who we seated. All of us represent one party, which has been in several governments ruling the country so far. And those leaderships have given wrong ideas to the people where these bills or these acts can be misused for their personal benefits or their political agendas. That is the main reason which is giving a wrong impression. If the people elect a proper leader with good sense and with good ideology, I think any bill is not going to affect an innocent man. The same thing which I want to highlight here, in 2018-19 after the Easter bomb blast, which helped Gotabaya Rajapaksa to come to power. Actually, it helped nobody else. It helped Gotabaya Rajapaksa to come to power. And then after Gotabaya Rajapaksa came into power, the entire economy crashed down. So, I feel that even the PTA is not being used for its purpose. It's being used for some other purpose. You know, a bill which is coming, a thing which has come, it should be used for its purpose. So when innocent people are being charged on that and the actual terrorists are not being taken under PTA, there was no point of that bill being in.
That's the same point. We're trying to understand your hesitation with being critical of the Anti-Terrorism Act. Because, for example, last week again we were discussing the same issue, and Mrs. Sumandrian pointed out that this Anti-Terrorism Act was brought in '79. It hasn't prevented any terrorism. If at all, it has encouraged terrorism.
And in fact,
that observationally, anecdotally, that would seem to be correct, because since then, the 80s were one of the bloodiest decades in the country's history. And since then, it doesn't seem to have prevented any
because the government officials are not doing their job properly. So that's why
But it was meant to be, as Mr. Hakim said, a 6-month law.
Just because a government official is not doing his job, you can't amend an act according to. If I have a lazy man working with me, I can't amend my job according to that lazy man.
No. But you have to give the lazy man, whether the man is lazy or not. That's why you have constitutions and laws, right? You have to provide the guidance and the checks and balances.
Accountability is must there. We know the accountability by just paying a
Sri
fine
Lanka
in
has
the
a history
court.
of having no accountability.
So let me say, I'll ask you some open-ended questions. Are you all against controlling social media?
No.
Y'all are against controlling social media, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right, okay. Y'all are against ensuring that innocent protesters are locked up in the country?
No, they shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be locked up.
That's
right.
their freedom, no?
That's their freedom. Okay, right.
Freedom,
so y'all are also against the fact that the rehabilitation bill that was brought in Parliament with amendments should not be. The amendment should not be brought in the guise of another act.
Yeah.
Right. Do you know, Sendil, if you read this bill, all these aspects have been brought in this piece of legislation by the government? Are you aware?
No.
All these aspects are there in this bill.
So let's say all the ER regulation that was prevailing in 19th decade, that also incorporated.
So just imagine.
I think Sendil referred to innocent people not being affected by these laws, but the definition of a terrorist has changed, and the definition of an innocent person has also changed because of that.
No, that's what I said. We have asked for a revision, and we have also mentioned a couple of points which should be revised on it, in that where the innocent people should not be a part of this.
The only good thing, as Mr. Udegamampila spoke about this bill and said there are some progressive aspects. The only progressive aspects on this bill, I've read this bill in totality. Section 24, where a woman to be arrested by a woman officer. Section 26, the notification of arrest to be issued in writing to the family of the arrested person. Section 32, the magistrate to visit the person detained under detention order once a week and inquire into the well-being. These are protections which should be there in a law.
It is there already before this act.
Absolutely. So those things should not be brought in a piece of legislation. These are progressive, these are good measures which are backed by a lot of parties.
Repetition of what is existing law in those areas.
So if so, this piece of legislation has to be ripped off completely.
No, see, it depends on everybody's view, and on your view, yes, it should be ripped off, and on my view, I feel that an innocent man should not be got affected.
Right.
By this.
So tell me, what are the amendments you proposed to this bill?
So we had a couple of amendments proposed, which I can.
So I'll give you some time. I'll get back to you in a minute.
Until then, can I have a few questions for Mr. Vijay Bandar also?
I'll come to Mr. Vijay Bandar in a minute, but I just want to get Iran's view on this, Iran. Now, Iran, what do you think should be the role of the opposition? Because I know in an idealistic situation, parties like the Pirithuru should join hands with the SJB on a situation like this. SLMC has already is supporting the SJB on matters. We've seen papers that there are possible crossovers. I don't think, Mr. Hakim, your party will cross over anytime soon. Would they cross over anytime soon?
You know, papers imagine all sorts of things.
Right, okay. So let's leave it to the grapevine. But what do you think in an idealistic situation, what should be the way forward? Don't you think that the NPP, parties like the 36 members that the Uday Gamampila is representing, mustn't all of you all unite in a cause like this?
And also, Shamir, this debate over this particular bill has been going on in public for over a month now.
Absolutely.
International organizations, foreign governments, media organizations, there's been a lot of discourse. I think this is the third show we are having consecutively to deal with this issue. So it's very clearly an important issue, and I think from what our viewer sent in, there is a confusion among many members of the public as to the lateness of opposition parties coming forward to discuss this matter. Perhaps, as you say, you've been active behind the scenes, but don't you think a bit more transparency on this matter with the public would have helped?
I don't think the issue of transparency arises at all, because there's nothing for us to hide on this bill at all. There's nothing. So there is no question about transparency. Internal discussions have happened within parties. There are informal discussions that have happened between members of parliament in the opposition. And as I said, the opposition is very wide now, because we had the conventional opposition, which was voted at that time into parliament. And then we have new members who have basically crossed away from government and are sitting in opposition. And as I said, right, there are things on which you will agree if you look at the wider group of people, and there are things in which you will not agree. So this is one of those things. I think the problem with this bill, as Professor Jayadeva Uyangoda said, is this a response to the Aragalaya? That's really the issue, because of the definition has been widened in such a broad way. Why are they doing this? Whom are they actually trying to go after? So there is no question that we will be completely opposing this, and we are trying to, I'm glad that MP Uday Gamampila mentioned that there is a discussion coming among party leaders as well in the opposition about this. And I think on this bill, I can see that there will be a lot of support in this bill. This bill is going to look for terrorists in the wrong places. That I can tell you. That's what this bill is trying to do.
But what's the collective responsibility of the opposition in a situation like this, Iran?
There is no collective responsibility. You must understand this. Even in opposition, every party doesn't agree on everything. That is what a democracy is about. A democracy is not to put the whole opposition together and say everybody should be doing the same thing. There are things on which we will agree, there are things on which we will disagree.
But don't
I mean, be realistic. How can the Janata Vimukti Peramuna and the Samagi Jana Balavegi agree on the economy? We can't. No,
we can agree on this.
On this we are agreeing.
We don't have to argue.
That's right.
In totality opposite.
Correct. We are agreed. We are agreed on this. So my point was, my point is, no, wait me complete this. My point is, there are things we can agree.
Now we are on this topic.
No, my point.
There can't be any precondition to oppose this.
No, exactly. No precondition to oppose this. But my point is this. I'm answering him so that he understands this. An opposition, right, will have things we can agree on. And an opposition will have things that are diverse. I mean,
but Iran, see how unfortunate it is when the people of this country united for a common cause last year to chase away a government that was destroying the country. The people came as one voice. Today, Ranil Wickremesinghe is the president because of that Aragalaya that took place in the country. Your members in parliament, which is not even 100 people, can't unite on a piece of legislation like this, and you're talking about democracy. How unfortunate.
Shamir, you need to understand this.
How unfortunate is that?
You need to understand this. Our corporate responsibility is for our party. Your corporate responsibility is not for Dherana. Your corporate responsibility is for MTV. understand this. Understand
Iran.
this. If you can't understand this fundamental issue, Shamir, you can't understand fundamental issue. You are absolutely wrong. You are misleading. You are misleading. You are misleading. And let me continue. You are misleading.
No.
Our responsibility, I mean, I can't get Mr. Udegaman Pila to agree on everything. I can't get Mr. Sendil Gondamal to agree on everything.
No, not every, Iran, we are not talking about every, we are talking about this piece of
on this bill we are agreed. On this bill we are agreed. From the beginning.
Have you spoken as
I mean, they have made their position clear that they are opposed to this bill.
Iran.
What are you talking about?
Shamir, may I say this?
Yes.
Because, you know, there is unity of purpose when it comes to this bill. I can see from not only among people in this table, even outside we have spoken, wide opposition. Even in the government, there are several very experienced members who are saying this bill is something that we cannot agree. So that's besides the point. But then we have to take into consideration one issue. People have been deluded into a sense of complacency for a different reason. They have been deluded into thinking that this IMF package may get derailed or may get affected if we see protests in this country, and there is a bit of a, you know, delusion that is now being built purposely by the government through their propaganda, saying we are going to give you this, you know, rice free, and we are going to give you the pohora free, and we are, you know, they are talking of handouts and then saying now things are happening. Now dollar is, the rupee value of the dollar is now decreasing. Therefore, you know, things are going to be hunky-dory, right? This kind of, so this is worrying. This is a worrying factor, that when the opposition gets together and call the people to the streets, whether they will be in the mood to come, because they all have been deluded into thinking. This have been also been, we have been discussing it among opposition parties. So some of the parties, most of the parties are going to make it a May Day issue, because now they are all busy trying to get, you know, parties traditionally who hold May Day rallies want to see that their May Day rally is, you know, the most effective or the
most successful
one. So they are all so busy. So because of the May Day rally, mobilizing people for this, they feel is a little premature now, and they are also, you know, banking on the heavy lobbying that the parties have done with the diplomatic community here, and that has worked also to a certain extent. From what I can see, I spoke personally to the US ambassador, UK High Commissioner, the EU ambassador. All of them have collectively been in different
Hakim,
discussions, have been
the problem,
very, very alarmed.
The problem here, though, is going to be...
Mind you, our exports are about 70% to these countries.
GSP.
Right?
So, I wish you had the same anger to jointly work with all the political parties to defeat the ATA. I like this anger, because at the end of the day, this sort of enthusiasm is necessary, but that has to be portrayed in Parliament formidably.
So I think we need to be clear, right, that, you know, this simplistic way of looking at everything, right, the government is this, the opposition is this, right, we will all agree on everything. I think let's get off this. Life is far more complicated. There are things we can agree, there are things we will not agree. And I think we need to be absolutely clear. Now, I'll give you an example. I am personally embarrassed that this bill has been brought. And there's a reason, right? The reason is this. More than 500,000 people have lost jobs over the last 2 years. No income. Prices have gone through the roof. Inflation has gone through the roof. People are suffering. It's not a case of whether we are supporting the government or not. We want to make sure that more people don't lose their jobs. As Mr. Hakim said, if GSP Plus is withdrawn, as the opposition, you can be, you know, in a nihilistic way think that, oh, it's withdrawn, good for the opposition, the government will become unpopular. That's a narrow way of looking at it. No, we are not supporting the government, we are supporting the people in the country. We don't want them to lose their jobs. We want them to keep their incomes going. So my story is this. My story
We don't want a lecture.
No, my story,
on
my
life.
story,
We
my
don't want,
story.
We don't want a lecture tonight.
No, but I have to tell you this. I have to tell you this because of the complexity. I have to tell you this because of the complexity that is involved. There is a complexity here. When the Foreign Minister Ali Sabri says that the European Parliament Asian Caucus is meeting, and why are they meeting? Because they have concerns on the GSP Plus. Can you all also be represented about it? We spoke at that point, and we made an appeal. We made an appeal to the Asian Caucus in the European Parliament. Don't withdraw GSP Plus. That doesn't mean that we agree with the government. We want to see a better life for our people. Now, one of the reasons why are they opposing it? Because of human rights violations.
What you call simplistic,
at the end of the day,
nothing. What you call simplistic, Iran, will be too difficult for people to understand, because at the end of the day, people are talking about a simple bill. We have to translate this to the people. So, Mr. Vijay Bhandara, what is the position of the NPP on this? Because Iran says that all opposition parties are collectively saying that they will oppose this bill in question. But has there been a discussion with the SJB, the NPP, or the political parties that Mr. Udayakamampil is representing on this bill in question?
To my knowledge, I am not 100% privy. To my knowledge, there was no collective discussion. My position that it has to be tomorrow, day after, it has to be on this bill. We even if we cannot couple this bill with GSP Plus, if this is passed, we will lose everything. The country's image and everything it will be lost. There won't be any condition to oppose this bill. See the danger now. I asked you question because it's the media also has a great responsibility, because of the media only parties gain power. People get the awareness. You disseminate the facts. Now there is a word called terrorism publication.
On the bill?
Yeah, terrorism publication. What does it mean? Terrorism publication. In Sinhala, if you take that Pavana, the Nanda Malini's that song written by Sunil Ariratna, if we sing a song and have a demonstration, all can be arrested and be in the author and singer.
So,
Nanda
but
this
already this is where the problem is, right? Mr. Vikrant, like Mr. Hakim also mentioned, Parliament's responsibility here, or the opposition's responsibility in Parliament now is going to be, it's a numbers game.
No, let me add one
Can
thing.
you all muster the numbers to defeat this bill? This is draconian legislation.
There's another serious
Can the
danger.
opposition muster the numbers? Can you keep the errant members of the SLMC in check? Will they once again go vote for legislation compromise, and then you'll have a disciplinary party and let them go?
Let me say I have serious doubt. The majority of the rejected parliament and the president are coexisting. That is well known.
So you think it will pass? You think the opposition can't muster the votes?
Let me explain. Now, according to the constitution, parliament can be dissolved at any time at the discretion of the president. Right? So if president, I heard one party representative here saying that we were under pressure, we voted. That pressure will come from the president.
You're talking about Udayakamampil?
I didn't say so. I did not say so.
You said that you were serious pressure. Or
No, not at all.
My issue here is this, right? Mr. Hakim,
Let me tell you this. You see, the main problem is, before coming to, finally before it comes to Parliament for debate, if it is presented to Parliament, what I am told is that government is now trying to backtrack and trying to have discussions. But be that as it may, if they did table it in Parliament, then we have the option to go to courts. And I am confident. What I feel is that if you go by the decision of the court on the Bureau of Rehabilitation bill, right? First time in the, entire bill was thrown out. They said
completely.
If the bill is totally contravened in the Constitution, therefore it must be passed with a two-thirds, and then some provisions that have
this is the
referendum.
But this is
so
the problem,
we have
right?
confidence. I feel the way this is drafted, this is a very ham-fisted approach.
But Mr. Hakim, you know...
I am ashamed I'm told some architects are in the Aegis department, some even from the private bar, had been, making inputs into this.
But the reality, Mr. Hakim, is we have a parliament which draws up entire bills in committee.
Nadeem,
So even if the Supreme Court strikes it down, says you need these provisions, in committee they'll add all the provisions back.
In October 2018,
they wrote an entire bill.
Counter-terrorism bill was tabled in Parliament. Now here it has only been gazetted, only published in the Gazette. But in October 2018, it was tabled in Parliament and we challenged that before the court. Then I got the Supreme Court determination with me. Supreme Court decided certain clauses violate Article 12.1, 14.1 and two-third majority. But certain clauses violates Article 3 and 4. As a result, Supreme Court determined that in order to pass those clauses, government needs two-third majorities approval in Parliament as well as people's approval at a referendum. What happened? Government realized after incorporating all these amendments, they can't achieve the objective stated and ulterior motives of that bill, so government gave it up. So there are several bills in this Parliament as well as previous Parliaments government have abandoned after Supreme Court determination. So our attack is twin. We challenge the Supreme Court to ensure that this will be a useless piece of bill where then government has no interest to.
So finally it's a win-win situation for the government. So what I'm worried is it will be finally a win-win situation for the government.
Right.
Even if they pass it, they are winning. Even if they don't pass it, they are winning because they are going to have the PTA. The PTA will continue in the law books, and then we will be settled with the PTA.
So, Mr. Garmanpilla, have you made preparations to go to court again, like you did for a previous?
Well, we definitely we will, because we get 14 days. Will start ticking from the day of tabling that in the Parliament. If they are going to table on 25th, then of course we are ready. We have studied this, and our lawyers are ready. It's a matter of tabling it in Parliament without doing, that's a trigger. Without that trigger, we can't go before the courts. And we are ready to repeat what we did in 2018. And I said this is a twin attack. Firstly, we have to make this useless with Supreme Court determination. Secondly, there are so many bills in Parliament because of the public pressure, strong public opposition, government have decided not to move ahead.
So, Senthil, I have a question from one of our...
This attack is twin and we are working on it.
Yeah, so I'll come, you can respond to this question and then you can respond to the earlier question and then speak about that as well. So the viewer says, Ranil Wickremesinghe came to power because of a massive popular uprising. He in fact at one time even invited tourists to join the protests. Now, as an appointed president, he has delayed an election and is presiding over one of the worst examples of legislation in Sri Lankan history. And those who will likely vote for it are the very ones the people protested against. He is a man who couldn't win his own seat in Parliament. The only mandate he has is to call an election and ensure that the sovereignty of the people is protected and is re-established. Senthil Thondaman, your people are now citizens but live like slaves. What rights have you won for them? All of you, what you all do is play games every time there is a new government while the people you represent live pathetic lives. The truth hurt, doesn't it?
No, actually, I think I would like to brief him that we would have still been stateless people in this country if the Ceylon Workers' Congress hasn't initiated and got the citizenship for our workers, for our people living in the plantation community. I think it started from 1965, we started getting citizenship, and it ended up at 2003. So till 2003, yes, we were stateless people. Almost, we were 40 years behind the race with other communities living in Sri Lanka. And today, yes, we have coped up equal to the other communities in this country, though we were 4 decades behind. So, what we have done, if we're going to explain, that I don't think the time is going to be enough. So then we'll be out of the track. And second thing, what he raised about the Honorable President Ranil Wickremesinghe, yes, maybe Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe's need was not needed at the time of 2019 presidential election. But when the country was under crisis and a huge revolution was there, he was needed. Maybe he's the right man at that time. So that's why I feel that within the 6 months' time, yes, you know, different times you need different kind of politicians to handle things. During the LTT war, which was going, you needed Mahinda Rajapaksa to end the war. So there were a lot of people. He was talented.
So you think appointed people in parliament, like individuals in the caliber of Sajith Premadasa, Dallas Talha Peruma, individuals like Anukumar Dissanayaka, who are appointed by the people are not capable to run the country?
No, I don't want to underestimate anyone here. But I feel that Ranil Wickremesinghe took up the responsibility and he has delivered at least stage 1. We have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Not only going to the IMF, we'll forget going to the IMF, we'll forget going to the IMF. Till now I understand the way he's running the government and all that. Somehow he's managing something and running, because he was not given a well established and economy stable country and a very proper government. I think he took a government which one of the most powerful presidents of this country with the highest vote winning couldn't take it forward. So he took a country with a and without having a parliament majority support. I think he's done. I don't think...
You spoke about phases. You spoke about phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. There is a process that this country needs to undergo if it has to recover. So last week, when we had individuals in the caliber of Sumandaran, Nalak Godaheva, Ambika Satkuranathan, Shireen Sanoon, who are activists, what they were all of the opinion was the fact that in 7 to 8 months, things are going to be difficult. Things are going to be hard for Sri Lankans. That is why such a piece of legislation is being moved by the Ranil Wickremesinghe administration, envisaging that this is going to happen, and in order if
to
suppress the public, they have brought this piece of legislation. What are your thoughts on this?
No, if not even PTA still continues.
No, that is why Mr. Hakim said even this piece of legislation may go out, but the PTA will.
Yeah, so then why should they bring this one?
This is worse.
This is worse.
This is worse. They still use the PTA, but this is worse.
No, 1 minute. See, it's all on how we take it. I think Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe is what I feel right now. He is concentrating more on this economic to bring Sri Lanka out of.
So let's talk about the economy. Let's bring in the anti-corruption bill that the IMF is saying that to be tabled.
Yeah,
let's talk about that. He's not talking about
that. Is issuing a governance report on Sri Lanka in September. Where is the preparation to meet that? Shouldn't the anti-corruption effort be the priority?
Also for the anti-corruption
even
bill.
you mentioned about police officers not doing their job properly and being politicized. In February, the Supreme Court Justice Aruvihare said that the professionalism of justice, Supreme Court Justice is saying this about the Sri Lanka police, deciding on a FR petition that was filed in 2008. He's saying that the professionalism of the Sri Lanka police has eroded since its inception. And he was talking about custodial killings. These are the kinds of people that Mr. Wickremesinghe is trying to empower through the ATA. And what I can't understand is why a non-violent revolutionary party like the CWC is hesitant to oppose the ATA.
1 minute. These are the people living in Sri Lanka. No? You can't bring a police officer from Japan or Antarctica and come and put him as a police officer. No. You have to run with this police official teams. You will have to run with this AG.
So you are saying we should give them these powers?
But
no, not give them these powers.
Police officers an amazing amount of power.
No, 1 minute. I'm not telling give them these powers. I'm telling them, only to use it for this terrorist activities, which earlier days, which they have not used it properly. That's why in 2019, there was a bomb blast in 2018, 19 and all. If this PTA Act was used properly, instead of, going derailing and going out of track, I don't think there would have been a bomb blast in 2000.
Mr. Wickremesinghe,
just one follow-up.
Just have one to tell you.
We'll come back to Senthil. How confident are you? We all are aware Ranil Wickremesinghe destroyed the United National Party. How confident are you that he can develop the country?
No, I'm confident on him because when
he destroyed the UNP. Since 1994, people like Iran Wickramaratne probably can vouch for it. I don't know whether Iran is going to support that statement, but a lot of SJB party members would say it was Ranil Wickremesinghe who prompted the SJB to break away as well. He destroyed the UNP. How confident are you he can develop a country?
UNP is a political party. And you know, politics is like a seesaw. One time we are up and one time we are down and one time we are up, and it's nothing permanent.
But
you know,
UNP has been down since 1994.
In 2010,
that seesaw has always been on the bad side.
In 2010, when Mahinda Rajapaksa won the war, it was in Sri Lanka that there's going to be no other leader going to come for the next 15-20 years. But just within next 4 years, Maithripala Sirisena became the president of the country. So politics is like that. You know, you can't predict somebody with just one election or with one result. You can't underestimate somebody's caliber. Maybe their ideology and their thing for that election wouldn't have worked. Maybe for the coming election it will work. So you can never lose confidence. And another one thing what I said, I think there are only 3 presidential candidates who are contesting. One was Honorable Ranil Wickremesinghe, another is Honorable Dallas, another one was JVP leader. 3 of them were contesting. In those three of them, I'm not underestimating anybody else, but Ranil Wickremesinghe continued to be around 3-4 times in the past as the Prime Minister. And he has his relationship with the international community was well advanced compared to the others. So we thought that he might take it forward, and same way I feel that yes, I understand that people are suffering, but I don't think Ranil Wickremesinghe is the reason for people suffering that. It's somebody else who has made, and he's only trying to now reduce the pain. So but, I feel that he can't take the blame for it.
To bring it back to the
one question to Senthil. You spoke of that there should not be selective application of the law. But don't you agree that in Sri Lanka, selective application of the law is the norm? And I would remind you of the Citizenship Act itself, which is one of the most horrendous examples of the selective application of a law, specifically targeting a particular community.
That's right. So that's why we have asked for, I think, our party cabinet minister, through him he has given a letter to the president asking to remove section 3, 1B and C, and then again remove in section 3, 2F, I, K, I. Then again remove death penalty, which is in section 4, 1A. Then revision of section 28, 2 bar A. Then revise section 31 stroke 1A and B. Then revise section 33 1. Then revise section 36 5 in that C. Revise section 40. Remove section 61. Revise section 69, 70, 71. Revise section 82, 83, 84, 85.
So basically almost the entire bill.
Basically
no,
revise
not the entire bill, not the entire bill.
But Mr. Vikram, you see my fear now, right? This is
not still I have
one more.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Remove section 97.
So quite a lot.
Mr. Vikram, this is now here.
But you have had no response yet.
No, we are expecting a response.
Yeah, herein lies the problem. Now, as Mr. Hagemal said, this is a numbers game, and at the end of the day, not regardless of, with respect to the court as well, Supreme Court may rule, Mr. Gamampila will go to court, others will go to court, the Supreme Court will rule one way, and then Parliament, as we know, is perfectly capable of adding entire riders in committee and changing the nature of the bill, standing orders be damned. But given that, can the opposition muster the numbers? You can't. The CWC, a revolutionary party, a non-violent revolutionary party, is hesitant to speak out that this is draconian legislation that should have no place in the law books of Sri Lanka. Is the opposition collectively capable of mustering the numbers to defeat this bill, or come?
No, but according, but based on
will this bill be law?
No, but based on what Mr. Ran Wickremesinghe's thoughts initially was, no collective responsibility of the opposition, right?
No. One party doesn't decide it. On different issues, parties will come together. That needs to be clear.
Yeah, but
ideologically also parties
collective
differ.
responsibility is a concept.
Can we muster the numbers? Can the opposition muster the numbers?
Yeah, I think you're asking a good question. On this, I think most of the opposition will be together, maybe even the whole opposition. I can't vouch for everybody who was in government and who has come, but most of them, I think, will also be voting against this bill. The question about numbers, right, when you come to numbers, this is a Rajapaksa parliament. What are you talking about? That's why I'm talking about the legitimacy of parliament. Ranil Wickremesinghe has been made president by Rajapaksa parliament. That is why he may be legal, but his legitimacy is in question. So you are turning around and asking me, who is calling parliament not legitimate, whether I can muster numbers with an illegitimate parliament. You need to be realistic.
But this illegitimate parliament is about to pass legislation
that is why we are getting public opinion going. We will challenge this in the courts when it comes. We are taking it to the people. We are showing the differences. And as the Honourable Mr. Honourable Hakim said, even members in the government are concerned about this because the discussions are going on at very, very different levels in defeating this bill. If you ask me a personal question, what's my confidence level on this bill? This bill won't go through.
But you look at the history of Mr. Wickremesinghe, right? You look at in 79, the Prevention of Terrorism Act was brought. A couple of years later, 82, Fourth Amendment came. This is in the Hansard. Mr. Wickremesinghe spoke of the reason why Parliament should support this Fourth Amendment to extend the term of the Parliament back then. Very undemocratic actions even then. There was an apparent Naxalite threat, right? So we can see how this language of terrorism, this sort of buzzwords, this bait and switch tactics have been used in the past as well. And it has worked. Hence my fear, despite your confidence that it will not pass, I am very fearful that you're dealing with a man who is very well aware of what he's doing, who knows exactly what he's doing, and he's going to get his way hell or high water.
I don't know where you get the confidence from. Can you tell me of any democratic country in the world, right, where somebody has been in politics for more than 50 years, has been a leader of a party for nearly 30 years, from 1994, and that party has never won a presidential election? Where does your confidence come from? My confidence doesn't come from there.
No, Nadeem mentioned this case of Naxalite threat and the issues concerned with it.
Yeah.
Now, after the 83 riots, they proscribed the JVP of all parties, right? And then what happened? There was an insurrection later. Then the same government, you see, pardoned the JVP and then deproscribed it, Premadasa, brought them out, right? So, they have always paid with they have played with the life of the nation. You see, they have made terrible mistakes. So, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe had been part of these governments. So, he should be wiser by hindsight. But unfortunately, by bringing this bill, I think his image is getting tarnished terribly.
Yeah. So, Mr. Hakim, when you look at this piece, I'll come to you, Mr. Vijay Bandara, momentarily. If you look at this bill, we see in Parliament, or the President can declare a state of emergency, which needs to go to Parliament at the end of the day after a certain period of time. But it seems, when you read this piece of legislation, that it is a state of emergency right throughout. Isn't it, Mr. Hakim?
No, I don't think, I am very confident, at least going by the recent judgment of the Supreme Court. Any bench, I think this won't get passed without the Supreme Court calling for two-third majority, or at certain provisions might even require the referendum. You see? Now, the classic example. Now, see how they have.
But would the Supreme Court have that?
Now, see, the Bureau of Rehabilitation Bill was the entirety was thrown out. Now they are going to smuggle that in
this bill
through a different provision, enabling the IGP to rather the Attorney General to advise the President, and then to send people to rehabilitation. That can become a coercive exercise. They can come and compel. A person has been kept in custody for almost a year or two, right? And his morale is down, and he's helpless. So then the AG can threaten him and say, if you don't, this thing, we'll have to file indictment. You may have to go to courts, and then you have to suffer for so many years. So as a compromise, take this.
That
right?
of course.
So
looks
this is what happens. They show this as a detailed. Long detention can do a lot of things psychologically to a person. Right?
So, exactly the point then is, now as MPs, it's, you mentioned again, it's a numbers game. So these things can happen. We know these things can happen. The public knows these things can happen. The public have had
do happen.
people like Hejaz, people like Anaf, people like even Shaktika. There are countless others to whom this has happened. Our worry now is whether you in Parliament have the capability to stop this from becoming worse than it is right now.
No, not we. I mean, government is only one arm of state.
But no, let's
right?
take your
Parliament and judiciary together.
But Mr.
Right?
Hakim,
we'll
your
have to defeat this. That's what I feel.
Can
Parliament and the opposition together.
Parliament and the judiciary.
No, judiciary together. Parliament,
but your
Parliament, I'm saying...
Indian majority means the entire Parliament.
Yeah, we had to have special majority.
But
you see, we have to depend on the Supreme Court that its judgment will finally say that this has to be passed with a special majority.
and will the members of your party not go turncoat? Will the members of your party, will the SLMC parliamentary group stand by you this time?
They have, I don't think anybody with their right conscience will never ever raise their...
Even if there is a cabinet reshuffle, it would happen.
Could I respond to you?
Yes.
Nadeem, now you keep asking Iran, Rauf, or everybody, do you have the confidence? He asked about his confidence, his capacity. Well, we have two options. We could decide that, look, the Governor Ranil is a very powerful man, very senior man. He had been playing this game for so many decades. What can we do about it? He is maintaining the simple majority in Parliament. He had 134 members support at his election. What can we do about that? Attitude is one alternative. But with great confidence, I announce on behalf of all opposition members, we are not ready to opt for that. What is the second option? Well, whatever the instrument available to us, we'll pick all these instruments and fight with all possible means. This is not, give me a minute, this is not the first bill. We are fighting, being in the opposition. We are not the first time we are in the opposition. I think Rauf is very much senior to me, so he has been in the opposition so many times. So there are bills in our parliament, so many historically, we have opposition has ensured that bill would not be passed, not because just, frankly, minority governments can win opposition members and ensure the majority to pass bills. Usually, opposition has never, or in the most of the cases, has not gained the numbers to defeat a government bill. But the opposition has other alternative means. We can bring the public opinion to the level that government would not go ahead with the bill. International pressure is something else that we could use. Thirdly, and we are very confident, both of us are lawyers who have challenged this kind of bills before the Supreme Court. I have challenged 11 bills so far as a parliamentarian. So we are confident that by looking at this, I just refer to the section clauses 82 and 83 in my first
opening remarks
round. Both these clauses are gross violation of Article 14. Then there are so many clauses, it is obvious that in violation of Article 12. Then there are several clauses violating Articles 3 and 4. As a result, it cannot be approved without the approval of the people at the referendum. So once we get this determination from the Supreme Court, this piece of bill will have no use for the government to go for moving ahead. So we are not worried about numbers, that's not the opposition game. That's government's game. Our game is to use the judiciary, public opinion, international pressure to discourage the government to move ahead.
Mr. Gamampila,
exactly.
Mr. Gamampila, I was listening to Minister Vidyas Rajapaksa speak to the media recently, and he said that those who fear this bill are those who are engaged in terrorist-like activities in the country. What is your thought?
Well, this bill has made anybody and everybody a terrorist. any innocent person can turn to be a terrorist by, I have two documents here with me. One is a resolution 1566/2004 of United Nations Security Council, where terrorism has been defined. Again, General Assembly in their resolution number A/RES/49/60 in 1995, they have again defined the terrorism. If you go through the Rauf referred to several international laws of other countries where they have defined terrorism, which is very narrow. But here, government, not accidentally, by deliberate act, they have broadened the definition for terrorism whenever they want to make any person a terrorist. Yeah. So, if he says that only the terrorists should be worried about this bill, the government has made the entire nation terrorist by broadly define the terrorism. And look at this now classic example in this section 3F. It said if you interfere with or disturb to essential services, you are performing act of terrorism. What is essential service? I have brought the Essential Public Service Act here. President can declare any service as an essential service.
Right.
Now let's say National Archives. Government failed to pay their monthly salaries. They start a strike demanding we would not work until we are getting our monthly salary. Very reasonable demand. President can declare National Archive is an essential service. Then strike is interruption to work or obstruction of performing essential services.
Right.
Every single employee at National Archives become a terrorist.
So
that's why
librarians would become terrorists.
Exactly.
Yes.
I like the way, Mr. Gamampilly, you are trying to defend the opposition leader in your remarks.
No, I have no. I must be very clear. I have no any special relationship with the opposition leader.
Yeah,
what I said
most of the time spends time in the jungle.
That of course,
not even in the country.
That of course I don't know. Right?
So
I can't comment on things that I don't know. But
all these words, Mr. Gamampilly,
because you said that opposition leader has not done anything, but knowing very well that he personally called me and invited to a meeting, it's unfair by him if I fail.
But all these words, Mr. Gamampilly, at the end of the day, for the people, it means nothing. We saw how things transformed in countries like Tunisia. It was the people who made that change. We saw what happened in Egypt. It was the people who made that change. We saw Sri Lanka very recently, last year. It was the people who made that change.
Right now in Israel.
It's gone are the days when the media and the people will have politicians to pontificate and get away with it. Now, times have clearly changed. And we have to understand that reality very clearly. So we're going for a short commercial break. When we come back, we are in conversation with Mr. Udaya Gamampilly, Mr. Rauf Hakim, Senthil Thondaman, Iran Vikram Ratna, and also attorney at law J. Vijay Bandara. Mr. Vijay Bandara, I have not given you enough time, but I'm just definitely going to come back to you after the short commercial break. Stay connected, stay with Face the Nation. We're discussing about the anti-terrorism bill. Welcome back. This is Face the Nation. So I want to give an opportunity to Niresh to pose a question to Mr. Vijay Bandara.
Mr. Vijay Bandara, now we have been speaking about the effect of this bill if passed on media and anti-government protesters and so on. But in effect, it would also be detrimental to the rights of practically every citizen and organization. For example, farmer societies which would protest, fisheries societies, or even just an ordinary set of villagers who are protesting, demanding that a bridge be built or something like that.
Yes, of course, yes. Now, let me begin with saying that what Sri Lankan Supreme Court, because all our confidence about that Supreme Court going to say. Supreme Court in famous Janagosa case, where they are beating drums and all that, led by Mahinda Rajapaksa as then he was. and some dumps were destroyed by police. Court held that even if you make a noise, disturbance of public for the purpose of showing your dissent against the government, that is legitimate. That is part and parcel of freedom of association, freedom of speech, and freedom of assembly. That is how court said. In second case, this Ratawasi Peramunu case, where in that case, certain people were arrested, and police filed a report saying, Raje Peralamu, Pannadamu, Palawaharimu, Vinasakaramu. Those are the words only, verbal expression only. Then Supreme Court held verbal expression alone will not amount to terrorism. Those are the expression. If this has been drafted, that is why I am saying there is no government in Sri Lanka at the moment. There is no governance in Sri Lanka. Otherwise, this should have been drafted by, with the assistance of draftman department and all these things. If they did so, all the Supreme Court expression on fundamental right, including the Easter Sunday attack case where the President's accountability, Security Council's accountability would have been incorporated if they are genuine to deal with terrorism.
Now, Mr. Vijay Bandara, everyone is waiting until Maithripala Sirisena pays us 100 million. From where he's going to find this money?
Now, it has been adjudicated and decided, it will be, he has to pay. Then somebody has to take that step.
No, that's enough. Who's going to have 100 million rupees whether the president will have? No, whether the president will have. Will he have this 100 million? Because now he has told that he wants to go everywhere and find this money as well. I don't think I don't think the people will be giving him money for his deed that he has done.
I'm also not saying that people will pay.
Yeah.
But it's a court order. If that's not happening, there are other provisions to deal with such. In any event, what I want to say is, article freedom of expression means whatever you feel internally to communicate beyond you to others through any means. That is by way of article.
So, Mr. Vijay, you're a lawyer as well. Mr. Hakim all spoke about the Rehabilitation Act. Section 71 and 77 of this bill now contains provisions that require a person to voluntarily participate in rehabilitation programs where criminal proceedings may be suspended or deferred, or the indictments may be withdrawn by the Attorney General. Now, I remember, Mr. Vijay Bandara, when the Aragale took place, months after that, our young parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa spoke about rehabilitating the Aragale people.
Yes.
So this seems, now you all were asking whether who were authors of this bill in question. Yes. Can the young parliamentarian also be part of this?
Would have been, and also I have to very clearly tell the public, a lot of people say this is Ranil Wickremesinghe's act. I do not agree. This is an act of 134 plus Ranil Wickremesinghe, joint act, definitely. It is not the act of Ranil Wickremesinghe alone. This is a kind
134
of
134 plus?
Ranil Wickremesinghe.
So 135.
Yes, I don't know.
So Minister Uday Kampila's party is not there.
I don't know who, we don't know who voted within that 134 and who.
Yes, you mentioned my name. We publicly supported Dalal Salah Peruma, not only voted.
Mahinda Rajapaksa also supported Dalal Salah Peruma, remember?
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Verbal, yes.
Said, yeah,
we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know who. So what I want to stress is that what is practically dangerous is that this parliament cannot be trusted at all. It is failed, rejected parliament. And also,
when you say rejected parliament,
yes,
are you pointing the finger at the SJB also?
Let me know. It is the government. Government, right?
Government.
Rejected government. I'm sorry. Let me clarify. Why that?
There was swift to respond to you.
Yeah.
Thank God you corrected it.
There was an election and they got overwhelming majority, both by parliament election as well as presidential election. That is the choice of the people. After that, people uprose. And then they rejected president, remove the prime minister, remove the ministers of cabinet. That means automatically, conventionally, parliament should have been dissolved.
Today, Mr. Wickremesinghe is Vikram Ratna is very emotional, because this is something very close to his heart. And I'm so glad, Iran, you came on the show tonight, because sometimes it's so difficult to get you on Face the Nation. Because there was a time in 2015 and 2019, you were ever ready to come and tell the public what the manifesto of the UNP and the SJB was. And now only in a situation like this, we can call individuals in your caliber to come on the show. And I'm glad that you're very emotional on this subject as well. So I want to ask all 5 members about the way forward. Now, we're talking about the bill. I'm going to give each member 4 minutes as your closing remarks as well, to talk about the way forward as far as this bill is concerned, what actions would be taken, and what concrete actions should follow suit after this, because you all have a big responsibility to play, and the people are watching the actions of members of parliament and also individuals in your caliber, Sendil, because you all are part of trade unions. And this bill completely affects and suppresses movements like yours. So let's start off with you, Sendil. What are your final thoughts?
No, we totally agree that the bill cannot be presented the same way. It has to be revised. So we have, because our point of contact is the president, so we have raised our concerns to him. It should be revised. He said he'll definitely let us know on the proceedings what's going to happen. And if the bill is not going to be revised, yes, we'll have to take a call whether on our party on Saturday what's going to be happening. And same way, we want to make sure that the innocent people don't get affected by this bill. And only if it's like Mr. Gamampilla said, that the definition of terrorism should be narrowed down, where the innocent people should not get involved in any of this thing which will later change him into a terrorist. If he's getting a punishment for which he's not accountable, then his life will change. Same way, trade unions throughout the country has all the rights to protest, like however they protest. But that word, the essential services, those things are things which are important things which should be revised. Because everybody in a democratic country, this is not North Korea, where you have to live according to one person's view and vision. This is a democratic country, and out of the leaders of Sri Lanka, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe is the one person who loves democracy, who I have seen who loves democracy.
Who, Ranil Wickremesinghe?
Yeah, of course, I'm just talking about him right now. No, I'm not telling about legally. I'm not telling about him cancelling elections.
Sendil, be careful, because Mr. Wickremesinghe will have a lot to say when talking about party democracy and all that. Ranil Wickremesinghe is far off that.
No, I'm not talking about the party democracy.
Our country's democracy. But this piece of legislation is not showing democracy whatsoever. If you read this bill.
Yeah, I read that. That's why I said we've asked.
That is why 80% of the bill you all are rejecting.
No, we asked for a revision of that. And so I feel that yes, the country has to move forward. We can't stay at one point, and whatever is necessary on that time. Sometimes there will be intelligence's report given to the government to take certain steps at certain calls. So I am not inside the government to know the intelligence things which are happening. Yes, we are supporting the government. So I hope that the country should take forward in whatever aspect that we come out of all this. And more than everything, we have to concentrate more on economy. So the Ceylon Workers Congress, anything supporting the economy bill to develop the economy, yes, we are 100% for it. But anything on instances like this on national security threat, and where this is going to curtail the freedom and the democracy of any kind of protesters who are protesting, in a democratic country, yes, protesters should be given their spaces and things like that. So those kinds of things must also be taken into consideration, and I hope that this bill is not presented the same way, so that it makes everybody in an embarrassing situation where they modify the bill in a way that everybody accepts that. And if it's modified, yes, I think CWC will support it. If it's not modified, I think then we'll have to take a call on it, and we'll have to wait and see on it.
Mr. Vijay Bandaru, what's the stand of the NPP?
I am totally against any modification. This has to be absolutely rejected.
In full, in totality?
In totality. And second thing is, after Aragalaya, entire country, civil organizations, religious organizations, they call for a unity government, non-political government. That's what the proposal initially made. We have to make room for dialogue. We have to make room for dissent. Because now there are going to be very drastic decision being taken with regard to alienation of resources of the Sri Lankan government, property, and selling or leasing out, whatever words you may use. Then there should be a room for the people to come and speak out. That is what the need of the time. This entire bill makes an attempt to shut down all such avenues. To shut down all such avenues. Right to dissent is totally shut down. Because just you read the bill, it says intimidating public or section of the public. I'm reading 3.1a, by reason of murder, grievous hurt, hostage. There are many number of lists. Now you see last 3 months, if you get the data from your own news, how many underworld killing took place in Sri Lanka. Didn't it shock the mind of the people? Shocked. Did the government take any action on the existing Prevention of Terrorism Act if they believe that this kind of intimidating public or section of public and shocking public by firing and killing during daytime? They didn't take any action against normal law. Then Justice Abhay was murdered at his residence. Existing law says if a specified person is murdered, it's amount to terrorism. Did any government take action under the Terrorism Act? No. What are the actions they have taken under these laws? Keeping this, young, what's the name of this convener of the Inter-University Federation?
Vasanta
Mudalgi. He kept for very long time. Some Hijaz Hizbullah was kept very long time. Now we don't know what's happened. No case is filed. According to existing Sri Lankan criminal laws, right? However much you have been detained, pre-trial stage, without a trial, right? How long you have been detained, there are no compensation is payable.
So basically Mr. Jubana, what you're saying is, if someone is going on the streets, one individual, maybe one individual, descending against the government in power, he can be detained under this piece of legislation.
Yes.
That's basically it, right? Okay.
So there is no room for freedom of association. Because if association antagonizes the government, then police officer, DIG can say, this is terrorism. If any media institution commending governments or misleading public, then they will remain secured. If any media institution says the truth or allow the people's voice dissenting, then that media institution, your camera, your equipment, everything can be seized if you have gone through this act. Seized not after a good finding, mere belief of the police officer or army officer. Even army officer, normal circumstances under general law, they have no right power of arresting.
Right.
Under this law, army officer also can effect an arrest and hand over to police.
Right.
So then, if you see the seizing power and forfeiture of the property, Article 13 of the Constitution says you have to punish proportionately to the crime that you have committed. If you do a small offense under this so-called bill, your properties can be forfeited.
Right.
And also there are provisions to mitigate the punishment under existing criminal procedure code. Expressly, this act has removed that section.
Thank you very much.
It is not applicable.
Thank you very much.
Such dangerous piece of law.
Thank you very much, Attorney at Law, Mr. James Vijay Bandara. I now move attention to Attorney at Law, Mr. Rauf Hakim, Member of Parliament, leader of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress.
Yes, Shamid. Now, this bill, finally, if it is passed, will turn the entire country into an open prison. And we will virtually be giving the key to the president. Right? He can throw it into the sea and then have the entire country as prisoners. Now we have, in the country, for several years we have had emergency declared, right? So now we have normalcy, right? If this bill is enacted, there is no need for an emergency to be declared. Everything that
would be the status quo.
Yeah, that status quo would be, it will be normalized. Emergency situation would be normalized.
Normal law,
Yeah.
general law.
Yeah, it brought, I mean, everything, all the general laws will be made silent. Now, there won't be an application of the evidence ordinance, the criminal procedure code, penal code, everything will be made silent. And then people will be taken into custody by any DIG. And then their fate cannot be put to test by a court of law. You see, of course, the magistrate will come and visit you every 14 days. That's the only solace you may have, right? Of course, they say, there is some window dressing here. You see, some of those things that you read out, plus the removal of the confessions. Right? Now, in my opinion, all of this, in my opinion, are just very, of course, removing confessions may be seen as a very big step, right? It may be so, but then if you are going to hold a person in detention for 1 whole year, he can be, morally brought down to such a level that he will finally succumb to any pressure. See, because the mental trauma that he suffers and the stigmatization that will continue will really break him down and his entire family. And these dangers are there. And then if we, I have already told you about the catch-22 situation we are in. You see, this is like, if we oppose this bill, right, we are damned with the PTA, right? Only consolation is that there is some assurance given in the UN Human Rights Council that there will be a moratorium on the PTA, right? We have to keep pressing that the moratorium must be put into place until a new act is replaced, right? That is the only fig leaf that we have to depend on. Apart from that, the draconian nature of this act is well known, and the government will be out of their minds if they dare to bring this to Parliament, because they are going to sully themselves forever. And the President should rethink about this and withdraw the entire bill, as some of the members have already pointed out. Right. There is no option for us except to demand that this be withdrawn and begin around a consultation. And also, I will dare say that using national security as a shield to cover up all your misdeeds is finally resulting in total inefficiency in the entire criminal justice system. Our entire criminal justice system has suffered for years with the PTA, because the confessions are admissible, and then, indictments are filed willy-nilly, and then nobody has done a proper assessment of how much of success they have had through the PTA in preventing terrorism, right? We have had several terrorist acts. We had the PTA for 43 long years, right, and we have not been able to prevent. So what is the point of continuing? I believe that not only withdrawing this act, but we can incorporate some other issues in this, that are some of the components of this bill, into our penal code in the normal law, right, and that would suffice. And if you want to really have a extraordinary situation, then use the emergency, declare an emergency, bring in emergency regulations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hakim, for your thoughts in the final round. Mr. Hakim is an attorney at law as well as the leader of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress as well. I now move my attention to Mr. Uddega Mampila, who's also an attorney at law. He's also a member of parliament and the leader of the Pivithuru Helurumaya.
Well, let me begin with a very famous quote from Pastor Martin Niemöller. First they came for the socialists. I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. So This is a situation prevailed in Germany during 1940s. We just explained that entire nation going to be terrorized and going to be labeled, named as terrorist. And what will the impact? You can be imprisoned for a period of 20 years. In addition to that, your entire possessions, properties can be confiscated by the government. So, entire nation in danger. This is not somebody else's war. This is the entire nation's war. So, entire 20 million, I'm addressing, I know there are so many viewers behind these cameras, before the television set. I'm addressing you, 20 million people of this country. We may have different political opinions. We may have been differentiating each other. I am Sinhalese, you are Tamil, Muslims, then the religion, different division among us. Let's shed all these differences because we are in danger. If we are not going to be united at this moment, we will have no any other opportunity to be united. So, you asked what's the way forward. I explained previously, so let me repeat in very brief. Number game is not our game. We should not allow the government to put this on a vote. That's something very risky. We must take every possible step to ensure that this will never reach that stage. We have done that kind of operations in the past. So we have a lot of instruments. As my good friend Iran mentioned, a lot of people would lose their livelihood if GSP Plus is going to be lost as a result of this piece of law. Then we have to educate them, make the people aware that you are in danger, not only arresting or confiscating properties or putting behind bars. Sri Lanka will be like a pariah state in the eyes of the international community. So how can we master? Now we are talking about we are in trouble, we have to restructure our loans, we are negotiating with our creditors and bilateral loans, we are talking to the different governments. Then President has said we are going to raise another 7 billion loans. We are inviting tourists. We are inviting investors to come to Sri Lanka.
The most dangerous thing is, Mr. Kamampila, there might be a haircut on the treasury bills, the domestic loans as well.
Yeah, that's a different aspect. What I'm talking about is, if we are a terror state, no tourists would like to visit Sri Lanka. No investor want to come and invest in the country because their life is in danger. As a result, their investment is also in danger. So this is not only that we are discussing about the social implication, there is an economic implication as well. So everybody will be affected, no exemption. Hence, I think, thanks to you all, we got the opportunity to address the people and make the people aware about what's going to happen. And as Rauf brought us a good message, there are a lot of dissent within the government. Government ministers, very powerful members are criticizing this bill. So we have rays of hope here and there. Let's make a big light with our common effort. I think at least we were able to reach consensus here. So let's take this consensus to outside and make a big force to face this challenge.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamampila, Member of Parliament, for your thoughts in the final round. Last but not all the least, the very emotional Iran Vikramatne.
So, is this actually an anti or counter-terrorism bill, or is this actually an anti-opposition bill to any government? Really, I'm glad that you said that I got emotional, because I want to make sure that you all are safe, the media and journalists, because they'll first come there. And if we have disagreements, that's fine, because I believe the media should be free and the media should be self-regulated. The media should be doing it themselves, not any government interfering in it. Then they will go from the media, they will go to the trade unions. Trade union leaders they will go after. They must be protected. They have every right, because trade unions are looking at defending, right, the rights of workers. I have differences even with trade unions, like I have differences with media, right, because I think that the primary task should always be the citizen and the consumer, and the consumer should be always provided services at the best quality at the least price. But of course, worker rights are important. They will go after trade union leaders. Then they'll go after the students. That's the other thing they will do. As a parent, I of course want my children to have a good education. I don't want their 3-year degrees to hang on for 4, 5 and 6 years. So I have differences there as well. But I defend the rights of students as well. They'll go. And once they get through that only, they'll come for me. You see, and that's how this thing actually works. And therefore, we have to be opposing this. There is no question about it. This is also a big distraction. You see, nobody has been talking about, for example, if I say the Express Pearl, the ship that basically exploded 2 years ago on the 20th of May in the harbor. Right? According to the experts in MIPA, the scientists, the environmentalists and all are saying, Sri Lanka's environmental loss is between $6 billion and $10 billion. 6 and 10 billion. IMF program is only $2.9 billion. It's going under because there's a cutoff date. Within 2 years, if you have not made your claim or filed for it, you won't be able to go after it. Lots of distractions being brought in. The Justice Minister makes a statement last week saying there has been some story about $250 million has been paid. Those teams have arrived in this country. I don't know about this, but I informed the IGP about it. We're losing time. Very critical issues, very important issues.
And Iran, before all of these politicians spoke about the Express Pearl, News First was one of the organizations that exposed what was going on with Express Pearl even before any politicians even thought of it. We were there, out there, reporting on this matter immediately.
So, I mean, there's so many important issues, and they bring in something like this, and these important issues go under. So, there's no question we are going to oppose this. It build public opinion on this, and that has to be done. People need to be aware, and public opinion is with. We have to go into the courts, as all my colleagues here around the table have been saying, and we have to challenge the bill there. We have to make sure when it comes to human rights, right, there have to be international standards. Humans are humans. It's beyond national boundaries, right? There are certain rights to being human. Those human rights have to be safeguarded, and those are international standards. Sri Lanka is a signatory to most of the important conventions, and those conventions cannot be violated. And then we want to make sure, right, we want to make sure that this parliament, everybody is questioning it, that this parliament returns to its legitimacy. When you talk about it today, people come and say things like, don't talk about elections, because there are lots of economic issues in the country. Therefore, elections are not important. You can't separate these things out. If you want a democratic way of life, if you want, right, people to actually represent you, the public, then the public representatives should be there. So if the opinion of the public is that those who are there, I'm now talking about post-Aragale, right, those who are there are actually not representing the social revolution that happened in 2022, then they need to be given an opportunity to send the people they think reflect their aspirations and stand for their aspirations. So all these attempts, right, to basically thwart democracy, this act is only just one part of it. There are several other attempts to thwart this, and we need to say that we need to have an election. So the vision for the country, two aspects to it. The most important aspect is governance. I say it's not the economy. It's the governance issues that are holding this country back, and this act itself is in the wrong direction, and therefore there's no uncertainty about it. Be absolutely clear, in this form this will be opposed.
So I recollect when the Express Pearl issue came up, News First, in fact, before all the politicians or any party, I remember Minister Rohita Begunawardena was the Minister of Ports at that time. He tried to douse the fire Very unfortunate how politicians sometimes act without giving the professionals the proper leeway to do actions. And we spoke about a potential scam when this happened. We knew exactly what was going on, and we knew that this is going to be the ultimate brunt that the country will have to face momentarily as the months pass by. Thank you very much, Iran Wickramaratne, Member of Parliament, representing Samagya Janabala Vegaya, for joining us this evening on the show, because you said the media can express their own opinions and should be independently regulated. I remember, Iran, you speaking about defending Ranil Wickremesinghe in 2016 when the bond scam took place. With all due respect, Mr. Wickramaratne, we take your emotions with a pinch of salt, but we hope and pray that your role as an MP will be more than words, and you will be able to service the people much better.
I have to correct you there, otherwise the public will have a wrong impression. Yeah. Mr. Dew Gunasekara was chairman of COPE, and he will attest to this day that Iran Wickramaratne acted professionally in that situation and basically pushing.
But Satana in 2016, Mr. You came and you defended.
You can take things in context and out of context. Yeah. But you be absolutely clear about that. Right?
Probably
the chairman of COPE will say that.
Yeah,
you come onto a program, you can take any of the comments made by somebody here out of context. And I will say that very, very clearly, and there is no question about that. We've always stood for that, but we have said, until somebody is proven guilty, you can't assume he is guilty. We had to do it professionally. We took that stand right through, and we took that stand in COPE, and the chairman of COPE will also attest to it. So what I'm trying to say is, otherwise you create the wrong impression.
No, tonight after the show, I'm going to send you the Satana clip.
You can't be allowed to create the wrong impression.
I'm going to send you the Satana clip.
No, certainly tonight. You can send me any clip,
and then you can take a look at it.
As I said, you can take one thing out of context. You can take one thing out of context and try to create a wrong impression, which you shouldn't be doing.
Right. Let the people decide. Let the people decide.
Have already decided who stood for and who stood against.
Right, Mr. Wickramaratne. Thank you very much, Mr. Vijay Bandar, for joining us this evening on the show. I hope and pray that Anukumar Dissanayake arrives in the country quickly as possible and attends the meeting that Mr. Gammampilla was talking about on Monday with the opposition leader, to ensure that there is a process that takes place and there is opposition with regard to this bill in question. Thank you very much, Mr. Senthil Thonduman. May this discussion and dialogue be a prelude for you on Saturday to go and speak to your fellow members with regard to the deficiencies in the bill and to defeat this bill in totality when it comes to Parliament. Thank you very much, Mr. Rao Fakir, for joining us this evening on the show. I hope and pray that the SLMC will be very steadfast as far as this bill is concerned, and there will be no crossovers in the near future. May it be a cabinet reshuffle or may it be a bill of this nature. And Mr. Uday Gammampilla, you went to DSRNI College. Your school motto is country before self. I hope there won't be a 20th Amendment U-turn that took place before, but you will as an individual stay very put.
There was no U-turn, because as Iran said, it's very unfair, Shamil. I have been participating for TV debates for 23 years.
Yes.
My first debate in year 2000 at Janahanda with Rauf.
Right.
So we never expect commentators to make allegation in the concluding remarks, because we don't have an opportunity to respond. So please make all allegation at the beginning, then we have an opportunity to respond. At midnight, when you make a nasty comment.
No, that's not a nasty comment.
It is. For me, it is. So at least it's about me. So let me judge about myself.
Let the people be the judge. Let the people be the judge.
But whether it's nasty or not, it's towards me. So I am the person who is
of course
relevant, and I should be able to judge about it. And this is something you posed during the program, and I responded. So there is no need of repetition.
So this is our hope, that you always stay steadfast.
Actually, I explained in detail. I was in the government, and government had to make a collective decision, but we achieved 9 out of 10 demands.
We expect that to be put in paper, and the numbers in Parliament, if this bill is taken up, will be able to see that even your party, the Pivitru Helurumea, represented by you, Uday Gammampilla, will also oppose this bill in question. So I leave you tonight with the quote as I always do. Thank you very much, Niresh. Thank you very much, Nadine, for joining us this evening on the show. And thank you very much, the politicians, for joining us despite your demanding schedules. I know it's very important to have a public discourse on matters like this and enlighten the people, enlighten the public about what is going on. So I leave you tonight with the quote as I always do. Power tends to corrupt and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Take care and good night.